time for the show. The final quarter of Franklin and Teddy's season-long game of chess is underway. I know that's a weird metaphor, but you get it. The fact that this episode is all about games, whether it be the game of Russian roulette, makes it work. Teddy serves as the target for Franklin's games, which also include the bigger Cold War game between capitalism and communism and the never-ending game black people must play to prosper in this society. Additionally, everyone is required to either disclose their cards or call someone else's bluff in light of last week's catastrophic turn of events. Franklin has Louis, Teddy, and Ruben in the palm of his hand. Always 2 steps ahead, Franklin waited until Louis helped with his plan to set her up with the D-raid, alerting her over the phone literally as they were pulling up. She turns to her last ally, Buckley, telling him that she has a house with cash and passports stowed away near Ojai. He acts as her getaway driver, requesting half of the money in return. Teddy and Ruben are being held as hostages by Franklin, shackled to chairs with bags over their heads, and they are both utilizing all means at their disposal to stay alive while still performing their objectives. An incensed and hurt Sissy learns from Ruben that he taped their entire talk at the museum with Franklin. These tapes are available to the KGB, and as a result, they have proof of all of Franklin's misdeeds. He threatens to disclose the tapes if he doesn't report back to his superiors within 24 hours until she releases him and gives him Teddy. She asks Teddy about Alton without hesitation since she is unsure of what to do next and promises to make sure things go quickly for him in exchange. Teddy has the most valuable information, so he receives the harshest treatment. Franklin starts out small, treating Teddy like a petulant child and giving him some hours before the banks open the next day to think about his life and whether or not he wants it to continue. He gives an ultimatum. In the morning, Teddy will either transfer the money or Franklin will kill him. Even with the chance of death staring him in the face, he speaks to Sissy and Franklin like they'll always be lesser than him, their lives insignificant to the greatness that is his America. Sissy clocks it first and asks him, "Do you even really understand the pain and suffering your actions have caused? Or is it all just moving on a chessboard for you?" Teddy acts as if he doesn't know what she's referring to and she breaks it down for him, pointing out that he's a government officer flooding the streets with cocaine. Teddy's whiteness leaps out and he says, "If these crackheads don't have the self-control to not throw their lives away, you cannot pin that on. What fucking world are you living in?" And then he has the gall to try and demonize her, asking what she's been doing other than laundering Franklin's money. And, in order for the concept of whiteness to thrive, blackness and the oppression of black people must exist. Black has to be bad, undesirable, and beyond help. White has to be synonymous with purity, achievement, and order. Snowfall captures this symbiotic relationship between black and white people through Teddy and Franklin's relationship and by highlighting how essential the black community was in the American government's scheme to retain power at any cost. Although the specific scheme Snowfall explores is the Iran-Contra affair, using black people as a means to an end has been the cheat code since before the United States had a name. Props to the writers of this episode for unfolding this dynamic through Franklin and Teddy's conversations, starting with their specific beef with each other and gradually speaking on larger issues. Franklin keeps trying to torture the account numbers out of Teddy using tactics like water deprivation and a game of Russian roulette, but Teddy holds out, knowing how badly Franklin wants his money. In between the torture, they talk about their history, going back to when Teddy kidnapped him and Leon in Season 2, beginning their relationship. Franklin, now older, smarter, and more mature, tells Teddy he knows he was being manipulated. And Franklin makes it known that these little bullshit hints about Alton might work on his mom, but it's not working on him. Franklin knows what game they're playing better than he ever has and is determined to win. Sissy tries to convince Franklin to stop the torture, hand Teddy over, and let the KGB handle it. But Franklin, whose transformation into a ruthless leader has given him permanent tunnel vision, says fuck all that. The Carnegies and the Rockefellers were killers, and so is he. And he's willing to play dirty. Neither Sissy or Leon, who warns him that he's crossing over into dangerous and hellish territory, get through to Franklin. He turns it up a notch with his better half. Veronique is just as determined as Franklin after hearing from the bank that one of their mortgage checks bounced and they're officially out of money. Together, they confront Teddy, this time with boiling hot oil. Franklin gets as far as pouring the grease down his neck and chest, and then Teddy, raw and vulnerable, is at his absolute worst, calling Franklin an animal as if, as Franklin points out, he isn't responsible for this. He's a patriot who believes the white American way of life is a God-given right that needs constant protection, and the rest of the world just needs to fall in line. Franklin reads him for filth, pointing out that the Pentagon spends hundreds of billions of dollars a year on defense. So why does Teddy need his small fortune? It's not about the money or the communists, it's about keeping Franklin, a black man, in line. Finally, Teddy screams, "It's not your fucking money. Everything you have is because I allowed you to have it." And there it is. All of Teddy's actions stem from his inherent need to maintain what he believes is the natural order of things. Franklin sums it up precisely. "You wanted me to feel like nothing, because you're the hero in your own story. In any story, the guy that looks like you always wins. But not this time, nigga." This might be my favorite delivery of nigga throughout the whole series. By calling Teddy that, while in this position, Franklin is turning the tables on their dynamic. Franklin genuinely consents, and together they decide on the conditions. With Stephen Havemeyer, Teddy's handler, they will choose a well-known location, complete the final transfer, and then separate from one another. Franklin gets ready to get his money after he hands Franklin the account numbers from his wallet. Sissy is adamant about going with them to get the money even though she despises the thought of letting Teddy go and thinks it's too good to be true. She tells her son that she hopes he's okay with never seeing her again after the handoff, and he says he can live with that. Sissy, Franklin, and Teddy arrive at the agreed-upon meeting spot and meet with Stephen. Franklin reneges on the part of the agreement to bring Ruben, rightfully distrustful of anyone associated with Teddy, and says he'll hand over Ruben if he gets his money, or he'll make a deal with the FBI. Teddy calls the bank on a payphone, and while he's speaking with the bank, Sissy asks what prison Teddy sent Alton to. Teddy aggressively tells Sissy he was lying and that Alton is dead, shot twice by Teddy himself. Right as Teddy is about to give the bank his password, Sissy turns and shoots Teddy, killing him quickly. Franklin tries to keep him alive long enough for the password, but it's too late. Sissy drops to her knees and lets the cops arrest her, keeping her promise to Teddy that he'll never touch one of her family members again. I appreciate you watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe.